What's up, zoners? 2 weeks ago on this show, we found out that quarterbacks were the position that relied the most on strength of schedule for fantasy football success. So the next step in this process, we're going to look at the 3 games that mean the most to our season in fantasy football. The playoffs, man, weeks 15 through 17. I'm going to show you every single quarterback, their schedule, and who has the best and who has the worst of this. I'm going to tell you the quarterbacks that are going to win you leagues, dude. The quarterbacks that you should target. I got all this typed out in an Excel file. Here you go, man. All right, here we go. Here is the important graph for today's show. I usually have it zoomed in, but I cannot capture all 32 quarterbacks right now. I will zoom in later when we're going one by one. But right now I want to talk about this graph. The first column, quarterbacks, Brock Purdy and company. Second column, man, this is weeks 15 through 17, the fantasy football playoffs schedule. So Brock Purdy at home versus the Rams, at Miami Dolphins, at home versus the Detroit Lions. And then, hey, man, third column, that is the points allowed to quarterbacks by that defense. So the Rams allowed the third most points to quarterbacks. Let's see. Dude, Miami allowed the 11th most points to quarterbacks last season. And, hey, the Detroit Lions allowed the 6th most points to quarterback last season. You look at Brock's playoff schedule, like, what the fuck, man? This is amazing. So the next column, I averaged those numbers. That is what determined their rank in this list. So I sorted this graph out by that average. Green is good. I think those are good matchups. And then, hey, man, red, you start getting into the bad matchups. Holy shit, Trevor Lawrence. Say it ain't so. All right, let's get through this quickly. Brock Purdy, already talked about his schedule. And I already talked about this in previous shows, man. He has one of the worst schedules over the year. But Jason pointed out, he is a trade candidate halfway through the year because his schedule opens up tremendously in the second half. And, dude, he has the easiest fantasy football playoff schedule by far, dude. Look at that average. That's insane. Next up, dude, Bo Nix. I was looking at this. I was thinking, man, Bo Nix has the easiest schedule for rookie quarterbacks looking at the playoffs. At home versus Indianapolis, at the Chargers. The Chargers, they give it the 4th most points to quarterbacks last year, but you can imagine they're going to get better with Jim Harbaugh. But all we could go by is the data that we are handed. And at Cincinnati. So Bo Nix, man, looking good for the playoffs. I am still not drafting Bo Nix unless I'm in a 2-quarterback league. Will Levis next, dude. I don't like Will Levis. I don't like him at all. I don't plan on drafting this fool. But a lot of people believe that he's going to break out. Let's see. I think they invested a little bit more in their offensive line. They got that Skoronski last year. Also, they got a couple more weapons there. So at home versus Cincinnati, at Indianapolis, at Jacksonville. That's a really good schedule when you think about that. Let's see. So if you want to draft Will Levis, this should lean you in that direction. Bryce Young, I don't want to draft this fool either, man. And he's at home versus Dallas. That is not a good matchup. No, thank you. So you have to survive that first round of playoffs and hope you make it to Arizona and Tampa Bay, which are great matchups, even though that defensive coach in Arizona should be getting that defense better. So still good matchups here. Caleb Williams, this has made me happy because I have him ranked quarterback number 10, dude. I had him ranked quarterback number 10 a month ago before everybody else. I don't even know what people are doing right now. At Minnesota in a dome. At home versus Detroit in a dome. And then, hey, dude, he does get Seattle and those 2 good cornerbacks, but that will be at home in Chicago. Maybe shitty weather, but still, I like Caleb Williams' schedule, dude. So still good schedules here. Drake Maye. All these, you can see, all these rookie quarterbacks, second-year quarterbacks, getting good playoff schedules. At Arizona, at Buffalo, that's not great. At home versus the Chargers. So those are 3 defensive head coaches there. Arizona and the Chargers could jump up in the points allowed to quarterback rankings. This is looking good for Aaron Rodgers, man. So he gets at Jacksonville and at home versus the Rams. The Rams just lost their defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. And then at Buffalo. So at Buffalo, I do not like, but going against Josh Allen, you could imagine that Aaron Rodgers got to prove something. So if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, I think he might be a quarterback to target. Jaden Daniels, man, I think that Jaden Daniels is being criminally underrated right now. He is my AR-15 from last year. I drafted Jalen Hurts early, and then I had to get a super high potential quarterback, AR-15. And, dude, you could trade this guy, Jaden Daniels. If he hits, you could get this guy late and then trade him for like a top. People get desperate, dude, for quarterbacks in the middle of the year, man. So you could trade him for a high-end running back or wide receiver later on if you pair him with somebody. Dak Prescott, man, another good year for Dak Prescott. He just has to get through Carolina, who just had a head coaching change. They gave up the least amount of points to quarterbacks last year. So you do have to deal with that. But then you get Tampa Bay and at Philadelphia, dude. Philadelphia gave up the most points to quarterbacks last season. Justin Herbert. I said he's a bust, man. But he does have a decent playoff schedule. And maybe they get that offense figured out, man. Maybe Lad McConkey's coming to his own by the end of that year and stuff. So there is potential for Justin Herbert to win you a championship. I am just not seeing it. I am not drafting Justin Herbert probably this season. So at home versus Tampa Bay, at home versus Denver, and at New England. I do not like at New England at all, dude, especially late in the season. Kirk Cousins. So people are all about Kirk Cousins this year. We're getting into the mediocre schedules right now. At Las Vegas, at home versus the Giants, and then at home versus Washington. So, man, at home versus the Giants, people just don't run the ball. People didn't throw the ball in them because they just had to run the ball the whole game because the Giants, they were up by 20-something points at halftime, okay? So hopefully the Giants are a little bit better and make people throw the ball more. Washington, dude, they are still going to be terrible at defending the pass. I could see them maybe getting a pass rush with, Dan Quinn there, but I think that's going to take a while for him to develop that secondary. So Kirk Cousins might win you a championship in that 17th week. Jalen Hurts at home versus Pittsburgh, at Washington, and at home versus Dallas. I love the at Washington. I do not like at home versus Pittsburgh, and they did terrible against the blitz. So Jalen Hurts set up to fail maybe that first week, gets to kill it, and then maybe fail that third week. Jalen Hurts for me. I was not drafting him anyways, and now that I see this pass rush heavy playoff schedule, no thanks. Because, man, they did terrible against the pass rush. Jalen Hurts was, I think, blitzed more than any other quarterback last season for a reason. Aiden O'Connell, next up, dude, at home versus Atlanta. At home versus Jacksonville. At New Orleans. So, I mean, you like that Jacksonville matchup, but nobody's drafting Aiden O'Connell. Get him in your second, get him as your second quarterback if you draft Devontae Adams. Dude, Derek Carr can suck a dick, dude. You had one good year, then you broke your finger, and that was it, dude. So, at home versus Washington, great matchup. At Green Bay, that defense was turning up at the end of last year, or was it the middle? I can't remember. They have potential, though. They were young. Then at home versus Las Vegas, dude, Antonio Pierce has got to get that shit turning around, but still not a terrible matchup. Sam Darnold, I think, will be a good quarterback this season. He will be worth drafting, man. I'm telling you. The Vikings, what's his name? Nick Mullins, man. He was scoring like 19 fantasy points per game in Kevin O'Connell's system. Sam Darnold will be better than that. He gets at home versus Chicago, at Seattle, and at home versus Green Bay. A bunch of mediocre matchups. But, dude, I'm telling you, Sam Darnold will be a surprise to people this season. Am I a Vikings fan? Yeah. Lamar Jackson, man. This guy should be my second ranked quarterback overall, but still not a great matchup, dude. At the New York Giants, yeah, he might get 3 rushing touchdowns, but they've got Derrick Henry now, so who the fuck knows? He might not even need to throw the ball or score the ball at all. That is scary. At home versus Pittsburgh, love that, man. I think he killed the blitz last season. And then at Houston might scare me because DeMeco Ryans and that team was turning everything around so fast. Who knows what this defense might look like? So Lamar Jackson, whatever. I'm still not afraid to draft him. I think he's still my second overall quarterback. Deshaun Watson, man. Go get your massages, dog. At home versus Kansas City, that's not great. And at Cincinnati, they've got a good pass rush. And at home versus Miami, so 2 decent matchups at the end. Deshaun Watson might actually do pretty well for people this season. Geno Smith, man, I talked about his new offensive coordinator. Dude, college guy that just throws the goddamn ball every single time. This is going to be an extreme, man. Geno Smith is going to be an outlier. They're going to throw the ball, dude. And they are at home versus Minnesota. At home versus Seattle late in the season, that's fine. At home versus Minnesota. Minnesota can stop the run, dude. But again, in their own field against Minnesota, you could pass against Minnesota last time. At Chicago, I don't like at Chicago late in the season. No thank you, dude. Streets of Chicago, cold, man. Nips get hard. You can't throw the ball. All right, next up, dude. Anthony Richardson, AR-15 at Denver. At home versus Tennessee. At the Giants. I love the Giants. I love the Giants matchup. But I love Anthony Richardson. But, dude, he got me 20 points a quarter and then went out. So, he could get you 80 points. He could get you no points. Good luck, dude. High risk, high reward with that fool. Hey, show coming out. Players. I think it's this Friday. High risk players. Anthony Richardson might make that list. Jordan Love, man, at Seattle. At home versus New Orleans. At Minnesota. So, I almost wish New Orleans was in that dome late in the season, not at Lambeau. At Minnesota, you get that dome in the championship game. I love that. Like I said, the Minnesota just stops the run. At Seattle, So that's whatever matchup. I'm not too afraid of these. Kyler Murray, dude, we were high on Kyler Murray. I do not like at home versus Carolina, or at home versus New England. I do not like at Carolina. I do like the Rams. So Kyler Murray, scaring me a little bit with this playoff schedule. Not liking it. Now we're getting into what I call the red, bad playoff schedules. Josh Allen at home versus Detroit. He's going to do that. Detroit sets up for some huge shootouts. Josh Allen is going to kill it. Then Josh Allen at home versus New England, that's 50-50 to me, dude. That could be a good game. That could be a bad game. Josh Allen at home versus the New York Jets, that limits his upside. I could see him getting 2 rushing touchdowns and 20 points. Fantasy-wise, you'll be fine. But he's not going to go nuclear. Baker Mayfield, Jason's not even here, dude. I'm talking to myself. Baker Mayfield at the Chargers. Like I said, that's a good matchup right now, but who knows? At Dallas, no thanks, dude. At home versus Carolina, no thanks either, okay? They allowed the fewest amount of points to quarterbacks last season. I'm already talking about Baker Mayfield losing Dave Canales. Dave Canales coached Geno Smith the top 5, coached Baker Mayfield to top 11, and now he lost that guy. Their schedule's a lot worse. Their playoff schedule's terrible. Dude, Baker Mayfield, I'm off you, dude. I'm off it. Make me pay again, dog. Patrick Mahomes. All right, so Patrick Mahomes, I do not know what to think about the Chiefs. I was a Lakers fan. I am a Lakers fan. When I say was a Lakers fan, I'm thinking of Shaq and Kobe. They just kind of limped through it until they made the playoffs and they turned it on, okay? So if I don't want this playing fantasy football, I don't want a team that is just barely getting through the regular season, not playing their stars the way they should and everything else, and then turning it on in the playoffs that only happened 1 year. But that was a shitty year, dude, coming from a Kelsey owner. But they are at home versus Cleveland. That's a terrible matchup. They are at home versus Houston. That could be a bad matchup. Then they're at Pittsburgh. So Patrick Mahomes, no thanks. Russell Wilson at Philadelphia. He gets the number 1 matchup first week, so that's great. At Baltimore. You go to Baltimore to die. So Russell Wilson will die week 16 NFL playoffs or fantasy football playoffs. Then at home versus Kansas City, dude. Woo! All right, Daniel Jones, man. Okay, I want to talk about this real fast. The website that I was using for strength of schedule had Daniel Jones listed as the top strength of schedule for weeks 15 through 17. This is why I was a mad lad and did all this shit myself. Took me fucking 5-6 hours to do all this. But I can't trust the strength of schedule online anymore, all right? So this is for me, this is for you, this is for the world. And the 800 plus subscribers that might see it. Daniel Jones has a terrible playoff matchup, dude. At home versus Baltimore, okay? I don't want Daniel Jones versus Baltimore in the first round of the playoffs. You're not going to make it. At Atlanta, dude, they've got good cornerbacks. At home versus Indianapolis, they gave up the 18th most points to fantasy football or quarterbacks. So, dude, not good. Matthew Stafford, this pisses me off, okay? Because I like Puka Nacua. But Puka Nacua killed San Francisco last year. They are at home versus San Fran that first game. Then they are at the Jets. I don't like that at all, dude. I don't like the Jets corners versus in the pressure versus I just don't like any of that matchup. Given that he should know that defense because Robert Saleh was in McVay's division for a little bit. So maybe they do okay, but still, this is scary to me. At home versus Arizona to wrap it up, I'm all in on the Rams. But this playoff schedule does scare me, especially for Kyren Williams, dude. San Francisco gave up the pass, but they did not give up the run. So that is scary. Joe Burrow again, dude. Scary schedule. At home versus Tennessee. At home versus Cleveland. I don't want anybody playing Cleveland. Dude, Tennessee actually played pretty good defense last year. And at home versus Denver, I'd take that over Matthew Stafford's, though, for sure, dude. And then, dude, Tua Tagovailoa. Don't draft Tua Tagovailoa, man, because he already does bad when the weather turns bad anyways. And now this guy has a terrible playoff schedule. At Houston, at home versus San Francisco, and then at Cleveland. So he gets Houston, who DeMeco Ryans will probably turn around by the end of this season. At home versus San Francisco, gave up the 28th most points to quarterbacks last year. And then at Cleveland, 29th most points to quarterbacks last year. And he has to deal with the weather, dude. So Tua Tagovailoa is not going to be winning anybody championships next season. Jared Goff next up, dude, at home versus Buffalo, at Chicago, at San Francisco. Jared Goff, I think we'll be okay. That offensive line will hold up, and he has the weapons. I'm not too worried about Jared Goff. He's going to be a top 12 quarterback probably every single week. CJ Stroud, man, he is getting drafted at his ceiling. I think he's quarterback 5 right now. All right? So I don't think if we're drafting quarterbacks at their ceiling, Anthony Richardson should be ahead of him, okay? That's no joke. But CJ Stroud, man, we saw what he did last year. Everybody fell in love. So at home versus Miami, at Kansas City, at home versus Baltimore, dude, gets Baltimore and Kansas City shit, dude. No thanks. So terrible schedule for him. Then Trevor Lawrence, man, the worst schedule for the fantasy football playoffs next season. New York Giants. I mean, not the New York Giants, I wish, dude. The Jets, dude, at home versus the Jets. Terrible matchup. At Las Vegas, Antonio Pierce might get that shit turning around. They still gave up the 25th most points to the quarterbacks last year. And then at home versus Tennessee. So, Trevor Lawrence, I'm avoiding. CJ Stroud, probably not going to draft. Jared Goff, he's got the offensive line and weapons. I'm not too worried. Dude, Tua? Fuck no, dude. Joe Burrow, I'm a little scared. Matt Stafford, I am afraid of, okay? I think he'll get you through the regular season, but, dude, that fool was so limping by the end of last year. Now he gets this brutal playoff schedule. No thanks. Don't draft Daniel Jones. Russ Wilson does scare me. Patrick Mahomes, dude, fuck. His upside is limited. Baker Mayfield's going to be a bust. Josh Allen, his upside will be limited in a couple of his games, maybe one. But I still think that you could draft him. And then moving up to the best. Brock Purdy, terrible playoff or terrible schedule in general. But, hey, man, if you can afford it, if you want to wait on a quarterback, get Brock Purdy late. Bo Nix might be worth investing into, okay? Just a little bit. Get him late. Will Levis, I don't want him. But if you want him, you should be encouraged by this. Bryce Young, nobody should want him. Caleb Williams, man, you better draft that fool high, okay? I'm going to try to get Caleb Williams because I can't get Jordan Love anymore. I might get Caleb Williams over Kyler Murray, okay? Maybe. Drake Maye. I heard he's doing good, but he's going to go undrafted. Aaron Rodgers, this should encourage you about Aaron Rodgers, man. He gets to get, the number 7th and the number 3rd most points to quarterbacks defenses from last year in the first 2 games of the playoff schedule. Jade McDaniels, like I said, he's underrated, but he just has one really good matchup. Dak Prescott, dude, should be amazing again, but he's got to get through that first week. And then Justin Herbert, I am not drafting. So that should cover everything. I'm going to stop sharing now. All right, everybody. That is the show. Hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription, man. We need it. We need it. We're trying to get to 1,000 before the year starts. I don't know, 1,000 in general, man, before my life ends. So please help us there. That'd be huge. And hey, man, if you don't agree with anything I said, let me know down below. But I did all that research, and there's only one way it works out. So numbers don't lie, all right? Numbers don't lie. But hey, maybe I manipulated them wrong. So let me know. I can change my mind. This is Tyler Big Turd Ward. This is the Fantasy Red Zone, and we appreciate you.